balancing family and a writing career can certainly be challenging, but it's definitely not impossible. I've been doing it for many years, and back to school time is especially important slash difficult because we've all been through the summertime and we sort of maybe feel a little bit relaxed with our schedule, and we now have to dive back into all of the things. So today we're going to discuss some tips and strategies to ease back into the school routine with minimal roadblocks or frustrations for you. So the first thing that I want to go over are the steps we have 7 steps here that we're going to discuss today. So feel free to bring out a notebook or a digital note-taking device if you want, and there will always be a replay as well in case you want to come back later. So the first step is to manage your schedule. Now, managing your schedule can be a lot, especially with the regular school year, plus school breaks, half days, after school activities, extracurricular commitments. So here are a couple ways that you can always be on top of your schedule and never miss an important event. So the first thing that I like to do when I sort of am easing back into the back to school routine is to get my kiddos' school's academic calendar. Now, typically a lot of schools will have those available on their websites that you can download. And you could do a couple of different things. So you could post that on your refrigerator. You could post it in your command center if you have one. But I do recommend marking these in your calendar. For me specifically, I like to use Google Calendar. So I will download the school list, all the days off, all the half days that are expected, and I will add them to my Google Calendar for the whole year. I usually sit down. It takes me about 10 to 15 minutes to put in all of the blocks in my calendar, and then I don't have to think about it later on. So I prefer that approach, but however your mind works and how you like to be reminded, absolutely do you. Now, when it comes to extracurricular and after-school activities, now these may not always be consistent or be consistent throughout the whole year, but adding them to your schedule in however you like to, you can do it in a planner, on a calendar, or a digital space. It's definitely crucial in determining how much time you have realistically, because we want to be realistic about our schedule so we don't get disappointed. One thing that I like to do too is a weekly review. So typically on Sundays, I know some people do it on Monday mornings, but looking into reviewing your upcoming week. So you can align your family commitments with your writing. So this can be a great way to make sure you're prepared for the week ahead and can help alleviate any stress that comes with a busy schedule. So a couple of tips on that. If your children are old enough, involving them in weekly planning can definitely help you download your brain a bit and not have to rely on them solely for holding all the information. And then also in a teaching aspect, giving children responsibility over their schedules will help them learn time management skills and also take the burden off you. So giving them that ownership can make them more invested in their own success. So this can definitely lead into increased motivation and greater sense of accomplishment when they achieve their goals. And also, again, it definitely will free you up when they take over this responsibility to be able to think about the responsibilities that you have, including writing. So once we sort of manage our schedule, we want to look into organizing family and writing responsibilities. So it's essential to create a harmonious balance between your writing aspirations and your family life. So a couple of tips to do this: you can create a visual board, like in a command center or something similar to that. That way you can keep track of your family's responsibilities and ensure that everyone knows what they have to do. Like I said, I prefer digital methods with my planners, but when planning involves the whole family, it's great to have a command center where everyone can see their schedule and take care of their responsibilities. For me personally, when it comes to my family, I have a calendar on my refrigerator. So this way, at the start of the month, I just have a monthly calendar. It's something I got, cheaply. It's not, you don't have to spend a whole ton of money creating a huge command center unless you want to. But it's great that everyone can see what's happening with every day. And my kiddo is at an age where they like to hashtag or hash mark off the days that we've already gone through, and that's their responsibility. So, on top of creating something visual for your family, establishing routines certainly helps in many different aspects of your life, especially with writing. So, this can increase your productivity and also help you progress on your writing projects. So, making a routine as well will help you have dedicated time for writing, which can definitely be challenging when you're trying to balance everything. But setting a specific time of day or a specific time of the week, you can also train your mind and work your publishing and writing muscle to be able to work during that time when you're ready to sit down and work. Also, too, when it comes to creating that visual board, if you want, or even if you have a discussion, write down your writing time in there so that when everyone's, looking for you or interested in what you're doing next, let them know that it is your writing time. Now, in terms of organization as well, I always talk about delegating and outsourcing when possible. So when you're talking about delegating, it doesn't always have to mean like you're outsourcing or paying someone to do it. So in the vein of responsibilities and giving your children responsibilities, delegating responsibilities to other family members can help you reduce your workload and really download everything in your brain to clear out for creativity. Now, you can do a task list and have chores on it, things like that for your kids and your spouse, and be able to take everything out, delegate it, and also give them that accountability. Now, when it comes to outsourcing, my biggest outsource is my robot vacuum, and we got this a couple years ago. We use credit card points, so I understand they can be expensive, but this is like my big outsource, among other things. So you can outsource household responsibilities such as vacuuming, cooking, laundry, stuff like that. And you can hire a cleaning service. You can go that way, or even ask a family member or a friend to help with some of these tasks, especially if you are on a deadline. And this can definitely help you focus on your writing and reduce stress levels. So on top of that, we have our schedule. We're organizing everything, looking into pre-planning your writing time. So it's definitely a great step to achieve productivity and meeting your deadlines. So setting aside that specific time for writing can definitely help you avoid distractions and focus on your writing task. As I said, we're building up that muscle. We want to be consistent with our writing. Not saying you have to do it every day, but putting it in your schedule is super important. So a couple of ways you can do that. You can find overlapping times in your routine. So if there's recurring activities, so say sports practices or art classes, you can use that time to focus on your writing time or your writing tasks. And if you have lunch breaks during the day or early mornings, I'm an early morning person. That's just me. You don't have to do that. But depending on your schedule, if you have something where your children are distracted, doing an activity that you don't have to be right next to them for, it's definitely helpful. My local library has a lot of after-school events, usually from 4 to 4:30, 4 to 5 o'clock, where my child is with someone else and they're doing something that they want to be doing. I usually take that time to do something I want to be doing. So I love this idea of creating sort of a mobile writing kit. I have an extra backpack that I usually have my laptop in, along with notebooks and pens. And when I go to these places, like the library or any sport events, I take it with me. And sometimes you may not get the time. You may be distracted. It may have been a long day. But there are other times that you can definitely use that time wisely and write for a little bit, or outline, or brainstorm, or work on other publishing tasks when you have those overlapping times. And another tip that I like to go over, especially in my From Chaos to Control method course and community, is creating multiple schedules. So expect the unexpected. This was a huge thing for me when I felt overwhelmed and stressed with my schedule. I found that I could never win, in a sense. Like, I would have my day planned and then something would happen and I would get extremely frustrated. And I just didn't want to live my life that way. So one thing that I like to do is develop different scenarios. So we all know when our kids are at school, they're going to get sick. If you're in an area with weather, you're going to have weather-related closings and half days, stuff like that. So brainstorming common scenarios that may disrupt your daily routine is key. So if you identify these potential obstacles and then create an action plan for each scenario, you can be sure that you're not going to be totally thrown off course in case something happens. So another great strategy in this situation is developing a backup plan for your writing in these situations. So say your regular writing time is interrupted and maybe instead of 2 hours, you have 20 minutes, 30 minutes. If you are intending to use 2 hours to draft, maybe with a child home sick or an unexpected half day, you have a half hour or so, not enough time to really sit down and write and be immersed in the story. Have an alternate plan of what you're doing. So you could be outlining or you could be brainstorming or going on Pinterest and creating a mood board or things like that. Things that are productive, not procrastination, but having those little backups will definitely help you stay focused and be able to expect the unexpected. Also, too, if you have the opportunity to have support around you, I know that's a completely privileged situation sometimes when you have family nearby, but definitely enlisting support from your support network around you, whether that's other moms or other working moms or family members, or even hiring out someone to help. I know sometimes high school kids want to be able to babysit, stuff like that. So the next step, on top of expecting the unexpected, sort of a sub-step, is be adaptable. Now, it can definitely help help you continue writing when faced with unexpected challenges. So looking at alternate spaces for writing. So I do recommend having your own space for writing at home or wherever you reside. But in a situation where things are unexpected or something's going on at your house, construction, stuff like that, having alternative spaces can definitely help you keep focus. So you can find your local library, cafes, co-working spaces, depending on your needs. And this can definitely help you stay productive, even when you're not in your usual writing space. So I like to, when I'm out and about in town with my family, make note of different places nearby. I don't want to travel 20, 40 minutes away to do my writing because that's kind of a waste of time. But if there's places near you, write them down, put them in your notebook, put it on a Post-it, put it on your refrigerator. And if something does happen, you have a list ready to go and say, I'm going to pick Starbucks today. I'm going to pick my local coffee joint. I'm going to pick my library, and then go and get the writing done. Also, too, when it comes to being adaptable, another important thing to do is have your books and your writing on cloud-based tools like Google Drive or Dropbox so that you can access them from anywhere. Now, you don't always have to be doing this if you decide to write, by hand or you're outlining, stuff like that. But having this information available to you at a moment's notice is really important if you are, say, writing and can't remember, one thing about your characters, the descriptions, or where you left off. Having those tools is definitely something that's super helpful. Google Drive specifically is a free tool if you have a Gmail account. Dropbox, I understand you usually have to pay for it, but just do you. Now, the next step on top of our schedule and responsibilities and expecting the unexpected are ways to manage stress and to maintain your well-being. So you are an author. Your books do not get written without you. And this is another thing I love to discuss with author moms is taking care of you, because typically we don't take care of ourselves very often. So when it comes to managing our stress, make sure that you schedule regular breaks for yourself. I find the Pomodoro method of focus for my writing is super helpful. So it's 25 minutes of writing, a 5-minute break, 25 minutes writing, a 5-minute break, and I go on for as long as my writing session, because that gives me that break in my focus. I can get water, I can stretch, have a cup of tea or some more coffee, and help you recharge and stay focused throughout your writing time. Taking regular breaks can also help you avoid burnout, which we try to stay away from as much as possible, and help you stay motivated. Now, one of the things that I like to do, and this may or may not be something you like, but I really can't work when I'm in like a cluttered space. So I make sure at the end of the day to clean off my desk, get myself ready for the next day. That helps me manage my stress when I get up in the morning to write and my desk is ready to go. So if you are someone who feels stress and overwhelm from a cluttered space, be sure to set that routine in your schedule and be able to manage your stress and maintain your creativity. Now, also too, I get stress, physical and digital clutter. So what I like to do is declutter my digital files whenever I can to be able to have a nice clean background and get myself ready to work. Now, speaking of which, my upcoming workshop for next month is all about digital decluttering. I put that link in the description below if you're interested in joining. That should be a really fun one. And I'll probably go through some decluttering time for us as well. If that's something you'd like to do, feel free to let me know. All right. And the last step, step 7, is being realistic with your goals and deadlines. Now that you understand your schedule as a whole and have become a little more adaptable, make sure that you create a roadmap for your success by setting realistic goals for yourself. So it's definitely helpful for you to maintain motivation and make progress on your projects. And the ways that you can do that is to be specific. So you want to set specific goals that are measurable and achievable for yourself. So for example, instead of saying, I want to write more, set a goal to write 500 words per day or 1,000 words per week. So this gives you a clear target with data to work towards your goal. Now, when it comes to setting those goals and being specific, you want to make sure that the steps involved in doing that are appropriate for you. So you want to break it down. So you want to break down larger goals into smaller manageable tasks. And this can definitely help with overwhelm and help you make progress a bit quicker. So for example, if your goal is to finish your novel in the next 6 months, break it down into smaller tasks like outlining, writing character bios, and drafting your chapters. And if you're involving any critique partners and stuff like that, write down the tasks and how long they most likely will take if you're writing your first book or you're still working through your process. Super helpful to break it down and be able to make little check marks as you complete those tasks. So when it comes to deadlines, this can really be helpful for some people to stay on track and avoid procrastination. Now, if you get stressed out by deadlines, that's a whole other story. If that's the case, you may want to stretch out your deadlines a little bit. But if you're someone who works to deadline, definitely add a deadline to your goals. So make sure, again, that they're realistic and achievable based on the schedule that we've already created, and hold yourself accountable for meeting them. Or if you need an accountability buddy, such as another writer friend or a family member, definitely reach out. Now, when I talk about data points too, you definitely want to track your progress because that can be a definite motivator. So when you're progressing toward your goals, you can also look back to see how far you've come because sometimes when we're in the middle of writing a book, it just feels so overwhelming. But when you see how much you've done, that is definitely a motivator to help you keep going. Now, to do this, you can use your planner, a spreadsheet, or even a writing app. There's a ton of them out there to track your progress. And on top of that, definitely celebrate your milestones. This can help you feel motivated and feel proud of your progress. Now, one thing I like to do is celebrate by getting my favorite drink at Starbucks, or buying a new book, or even just taking a day off to relax, going back to that managing stress and well-being. So I know that was a lot, but I hope you found that information helpful. If you have any questions or want to dive in deeper, we can chat in the Q&A shortly. But I just want to say I'm here for you, and I'm so excited to see how you do with this back to school coming up so close for everyone.